It's eclipse season, which you know what that means. Oh, you don't? It means you have to protect your eyes from the baleful rays of the moon and the sun. So today we're wearing sunglasses. Anyway, it's not the eclipse today for the day I'm recording this, but it will be past the eclipse by the time that you're watching this. Anyway, we're in the middle of eclipse season, guys. We have a Mercury retrograde. We have a Jupiter ingress. We have so much shit going on in the middle of this. This isn't the big week this week. But while you're in between eclipses, a lot of crazy things usually happen. Let me just also address what's going on in the background here for me. Next week, you're going to have a completely different weekly horoscope. I'm going to be trying something new that I've never done before, that I've been wanting to do for years now. And I finally have the opportunity because I have so much support on Patreon. And if you want to see more great content, and if you want to help produce more great content, become a patron over on my Patreon. It really helps me, and I'm trying to produce better quality content for you guys for free. So anyway, next week, you're going to see what all of this is about, and we'll have a completely different weekly horoscope than you're used to. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started with this week. The big thing with this week, there's not a lot of highlights this week. I mean, we have Venus going into Aries, so, kind of hot girl summer, kind of not. Jupiter's going to sextile Pluto, not the biggest deal. We're going to have this cool Sun, Uranus, Mars thing going on, as well as Mercury's going to sextile Venus before it goes retrograde. And that's really it. The major thing of this week is we're in between eclipses. Mercury's in shadow, pretty much not moving at all. Now that Venus is in Aries, this is kind of kickstarting all of the Aries changes that we have going on. But realistically, this is kind of like a spot in between things. It's like when you're at a concert and one show's over and the next show's about to start, but that little time in between, that's what's going on right now. Anyway, we start this week. Monday, we're going to be having the moon ingress into Gemini, post-eclipse, conjoin Mercury as Venus goes into Aries. Let's discuss it. This is, what's today? Sunday? No, today's not Sunday. As we go into Monday, number one, let's talk about this moon. So the moon, after it has this total, I keep saying total solar eclipse. It's not a total solar eclipse. It's just a regular solar eclipse. We're going to have this moon leave Taurus, right? And as it leaves Taurus, it immediately hits Mercury. So the moon being about our emotions and what we're reflecting on, it's supercharged after this eclipse, right? And it's gaining in light. It's waxing, it's increasing in light. Topics are coming up, energy's coming up. And it's in Gemini where we're talking about information, data, communication. And as the moon goes into Gemini, there's all of this kind of like mental stimulation stuff going on. But the moon's going to be conjoining Mercury. This is definitely setting us up for the Mercury retrograde. But a lot of this is kind of like, all right, Mercury just ingressed into Gemini. We've got this information. We've got this news. Our minds are going a million miles an hour. But Mercury is slowing down here, right? Mercury's about to go retrograde. So before Mercury can even go forward in Gemini, and when Mercury's in Gemini, right, it has access to all. It's like when you're doing a research paper, like if you're doing a research paper, it's hard to do any of that research if you don't have the internet, right? And so Mercury in Gemini is kind of like, oh, let me do all this research, but Mercury's in shadow, so it's like your internet's not working, or for whatever reason it's slow, and so you're going to have to fix your problems with your internet before you can even do your research. That's kind of what's going on right now, and I think as the moon's in Gemini conjoining Mercury, there's this sense of like, all right, let's focus on the Mercury stuff. What do I need to understand? What do I need to know? What do I need to communicate? What logistics do I need to handle? And this is post-eclipse, right? So it's like, solar eclipse happens, new moon almost in a sense where a lot of seeds are being planted. And then that moon goes into Gemini where it's like, the action's already kind of intensifying here a little bit. Actually, I don't like to use that word intensify for Mercury. It's not really the most intense planet or placement. Anyway, the other thing is by later Monday afternoon, Venus ingresses into Aries. So I have two feelings about this. One, on one hand, hot girl summer shit. Venus in Aries. Venus is about love, romance, pleasures, and it's in a fire sign. Like, there's what's there not to like about that? But Venus is also in detriment. Venus doesn't play well with the boys, I guess, if that makes sense. And there's a lot of different ways that you can kind of interpret Venus in Aries. But Venus is all about fun. Venus is all about bringing things to you. Being receptive is the word I was looking for. Not necessarily going after things, hunting things, attacking things. That's very Mars, not Venus. Things come to Venus. Venus like gathers things, right? And so when Venus is in the sign of Mars, in order to get pleasure, in order to get value, in order to have fun, you got to do the Mars stuff. You have to attack. You have to be, a little bit more intense. You have to find that spark. Aries is all about, like confrontation, identity, sense of self, independence. And I think as Venus is in Aries, there's a sense of attracting those values, enjoying those valuing those things at this moment. So as Venus goes into Aries, there's this really big, I don't want to say wind in your sails, but for example, if you've ever started a fire, you have to get your tinder lit first before the flames can go up. And that's what Venus in Aries is going to be. When Jupiter goes into Aries and Mars goes into Aries, that fire is going to start roaring. But first we have to get the tinder lit. And as Venus goes into Aries, that's the start of it. Now Venus, right? Pleasures, connection. She's not going to be in the sign of war, in the sign of fighting. She may not get those things, but it's fun. Venus and Aries, I said the hot girl summer stuff because Venus and Aries is very flirtatious. Venus and Aries is very, what's impulsive is a good way to look at it. And Venus and Aries is very give me energy. I love using that analogy. It's kind of like, why wait to get what you want when you can just take what you want, right? That's the Venus and Aries MO here. And so it's a little, it's Venus in detriment, but it's also the kickstart to all this Aries stuff. So I think as we start Monday, Moon conjoining Mercury in Gemini, our thoughts are going a million miles an hour. We have all of these ideas. However, Mercury's in shadow and slowing down. So it's like, we know what we're going to be doing, but we're going to have to slow down and retrace our steps here in just a moment. But as that's going on, Venus is in Aries. Like it's like going from the Pisces of like, oh, what am I doing? Oh, like I'm a little bit all over the place and lost to like Venus in Aries is like, I know what the fuck I want. I'm going to take it. That's what's going on here. It's very impulsive, but I think you should lean into the impulsivity. Is that the word impulsivity? I cannot speak today. Anyway, we get to Tuesday. We get to the next day. And as we get to Tuesday, Jupiter's going to be sextiling Pluto. That's not the biggest thing in the world. But what I like about these bigger transits is they're much better to reflect on. So like when we move on to the future in a couple months, we'll look back at Jupiter sextiling Pluto and go, wow, that was actually kind of interesting. The moon's going to square Mars, which isn't fun, but let's kind of just go to it. The thing is with Jupiter sextiling Mars is, Jupiter sextiling Pluto. So there's astrology is the art of interpretation, and people's interpretations of things will vary widely depending on their experience of life. Pluto is the planet of destruction, corruption, governments, corporations. I mean, Saturn is much more of the traditional ruler of like authorities, but Pluto is like, take that to an extreme. Take everything to an extreme with Pluto. Now, some people don't like extremes. Some people get way too bent out of shape when it comes to power. But Jupiter here in Pisces, conjoining Neptune, what is that vision that you have? What is that ideal that you're trying to reach? And again, it's funny. I've been pretty positive about Neptune these past few weeks, and I'm usually pretty negative about Neptune. And to kind of differentiate the two, on one hand, yes, Jupiter conjoining Neptune is like very gaslight city. I mean, kind of, but not really. It's kind of like when your friend really hypes up a restaurant. And you're like, oh, it's going to be like the best thing ever. And it's good, but it's not that great. That's kind of like Jupiter conjoining Neptune. It's just kind of like, maybe your friend's experience of it is a little bit better than yours. That doesn't mean it's not good. That doesn't mean it's not great. That just means the interpretation of it is a little bit fuzzy. But as Jupiter sextiles Pluto, Pluto is about like power and fear. For one, what are you afraid of? Stop being afraid. Like, quit being a little bitch about shit, to be honest with you. Jupiter's in Pisces, sextiling Pluto, where like fear is a choice. I know some people are going to get upset when I say that. But like Jupiter in Pisces sextiling Pluto is kind of like, hey, we can, for example, I know people who are deathly afraid of a lot of things, but that fear, and they'll live in a fear bubble in some circumstances, but then they'll go drive their car and they're not afraid of driving their car. They're not afraid of, the chances of you dying in a car wreck are way higher than in a plane crash. Than I think even like, I think heart disease is like one of the only ones that like beat out car wrecks. But like Why is it that some people are deathly like, oh my God, can't get in a plane, we're going to die. But then you sit there and you drive all day long, and half of you are fucking texting and driving, which is like a recipe for literally getting in a car accident. So this Jupiter, I'm bringing this up because Jupiter conjoining Neptune is very idealized, very like romanticized. But as it sextiles Pluto, I think that's an escape route for getting out of this fear bubble, getting out of the fear zone. Jupiter is asking you to see a bigger picture. Jupiter is asking you to be like, hey, like, do you trust this? You know, this is something I've been talking about lately with, I've had a couple clients who have experienced their Jupiter returns, and your Jupiter return happens when you're about 23 years old, which is also coinciding with the 12th house perfection. If you don't know about perfections, I got to make a video about that one day. But anyway, when you're in a 12th house perfection, and there's this sense of like, and this happens when you're 23, 35, 47, and 59. Anyway, when you're in this 12th house year, and the 12th house is all about like isolation, alienation, loss, hidden things that you don't see, fears and phobias, at the same time that you have those 12th house perfections, you're having your Jupiter return. And there's this idea of like being in a situation of going without things that you would typically like, or being stuck or being in a shitty situation, but then having your Jupiter return is like, for one, Jupiter asks you to be grateful, to have faith. And there's this balance of like, hey, can you remain faithful? Can you remain hopeful in a time where you're going without things? And the thing is, Jupiter is like, again, faith, belief, ideal, narratives, stories, legends, mysticism, all of that stuff, right? And so as Jupiter sextiling Pluto, where are you actually allowing that to kind of like empower yourself? I mean, like Pluto's also retrograde at this point, which like, I mean, in my opinion, the difference between a Pluto retrograde and a Pluto direct, I think it's just much more of like, when is Pluto louder than normal? It's kind of like when you're listening to a very monotone song and like maybe there's one little part that changes and one little part that changes a little bit later on. That's kind of like Pluto retrograding. But as Pluto's kind of retrograde now, and there's the sense of like withdrawing from power and fear, I think as Jupiter kind of hits Pluto and Pluto's going retrograde, this is a kind of time to overpower any type of fear or any type of like, look, Pluto's going to be stuff that's a lot of it's out of your control. But I think with Jupiter and Pisces sextiling Pluto and Capricorn, don't be afraid to like take on that power. Don't be afraid to let things empower you. And I think with Jupiter and Pisces, you don't necessarily like, a story doesn't have to be real in order for it to have an effect on you. It just has to be a fucking good story, right? Like, for example, Jesus, like, and this is going to get really controversial, but there's a lot of evidence Jesus never existed. I'm not saying that I believe that fully. I mean, I kind of believe a lot of different things, but there's a lot of evidence he never existed, like, at all. Like, we have paintings of so many people from back then, but we don't have a single fucking painting of Jesus. Anyway, it doesn't matter if Jesus is fucking real or not. Look how much he's fucking changed the world. If Jesus was never real and we literally live in a country where, I mean, they say there's religious freedom, but like half of this shit's based off Jesus, a guy that, possibly never existed. So tell me, when people are like, oh, we need to live in reality, astrology's fake. It's like, dude, half of this fucking shit we're doing is fake. Anyway, as Jupiter sextiles Pluto, it's just one of those things of like, you need to let the faith, you need to let the hope, like, take the wheel. Let Jesus take the wheel here for a minute, but be empowered by that. Like, stop questioning it. Like, during this eclipse shit's going to get a little bit wild. And that's totally fine. But it's one of those things of like, in the middle of a chaotic event, like chaos reigns, like you trying to like control the situation in the middle of a chaotic event, that doesn't help. Like, you kind of have to go with the flow of stuff. Anyway, the moon's going to be squaring Mars also on Tuesday. And as that moon's in Gemini and we've got all the loud noises and, again, our moon, emotions, our feelings, our bodies, it's in Gemini. It's very vocal. It's very communicative. The moon's going to square Mars in Pisces, which is very like, not fun, I think, for the moon in Gemini, because the moon in Gemini wants clarity and Mars in Pisces is like, or the moon in Gemini just wants to understand and Mars in Pisces is like, have you ever met like an artist that like doesn't know their technique, just knows how to do the thing really well? That's kind of like Mars in Pisces. It's like, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I know how to do it really well. And I couldn't explain it to you if I tried, but that's besides the point. So this moon square Mars on Tuesday, I think if you are trying to figure it out and you're trying to get the details together, it ain't happening. It's Jupiter sextile Pluto. Like sometimes you're just going to have to fucking trust, like take a trust fall. I'm trying to think of some other examples of like trust falling, but like it's one of these days, if you're like moon and Gemini squaring Mars and Pisces, is like if you literally go out of your way to try to get it all sorted out, you're going to only get more confused and lost. It's kind of like, yeah, I mean, I could come up with a million analogies on that one, but we'll keep moving forward. Anyway, Tuesday, feel the power. Tuesday, get lit. Tuesday, pretty much have the faith. Because I mean, we're about to have Jupiter go into Aries too. So like, time to really charge up this Jupiter and Pisces juice for the rest of the year. Not that we're going to be out of it, but I mean, it's just one of those things of like, there's a huge ROI with Jupiter right now. So if you are like lacking in faith, this is one of those times of like, you should really get out of your comfort zone and try. And if you have a lot of faith right now, double down on it. Like the ROI, the return on investment with your Jupiter stuff right now is huge. And like I said before, with Jupiter conjoining Neptune, a lot of people are like, oh, Cameron, this isn't good, blah, 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 blah. Fucking wait a minute, okay? Because just like I said, everyone said I was full of shit in 2019 when I was like, 2020 is going to be a bad year. Everyone thought I was full of shit last summer when I was like, this winter's going to be shitty, so enjoy the summer. Just hold on for a fucking second. Anyway, whoops. This fucking thing keeps like locking in like 5 minutes. That was not a problem before. Anyway, we get to Wednesday. Wednesday, the moon is going to be trining Saturn while squaring Jupiter. So you win some, you lose some. But there's this weird Sun, Uranus, Mars thing. It's like Sun conjoining Uranus while sextiling Mars right as the moon goes into Cancer. I don't know why it's so digital and so glitchy on that other thing. I'm going to get that figured out. I have a lot of things to get figured out. But anyway, we get to May 4th. The internet has ruined so many things for me. Like I hate hearing May the 4th be with you. Like that straight up fucking drives me insane now. Like the internet has ruined almost everything that was like funny. Anyway, that's why I don't even like memes anymore. Memes aren't funny to me anymore. Nothing's funny. Anyway, Sun's going to be conjoining Uranus. Are you talking about our sun? We're talking about our vitality. We're talking about our sense of like self. It's conjoining Uranus. There's going to be people that can handle the independence and freedom. So there's two types of people. There's people like me who love wild risk taking. And then there's other people who are literally trying to have security in their life so hard. And this is like Sun conjoining Uranus is being very inventive, very liberating. It's very destabilizing, but a lot of this is very like radical independence. I mean, here's the thing. Mars in Pisces is sextiling the sun in Taurus. So it's not that radical. It's a little bit more, chill. But I think as Mars is in Pisces sextiling the sun in Taurus, it's one of those things of like, I was thinking about this for August 1st. I've been thinking a lot. Let's just fast forward. I wasn't going to do this, but why not? I was thinking about August 1st. And if you've been watching my monthly horoscopes and shit like that, I've been talking about this. This Mars-Uranus North Node conjunction on August 1st. Most people are in agreement. There's either going to be, like, if there was a nuclear bomb that was going to go off this year, it'd probably be then. But either way, it's probably going to be some environmental disaster thing. But Mars rules like knives and cutting, and it's in detriment where it doesn't work that well. And on Uranus and the North Node, this is kind of like, the analogy I was thinking of is like, if you are trapped, let's say you're handcuffed with your hands behind your back. If those cuffs are loose, like you can get out of shit. Like, especially with like, for example, if you don't know this, if a police officer ever tries to arrest you with zip ties, you can break the zip ties by just adding enough pressure and breaking it off. Don't ask me why I know these things, but why I'm bringing this up is when we go back to May 4th here, this Mars and Pisces sextiling Sun, Uranus, and Taurus is, I think about the devil card. I think I brought this up a couple weeks ago of the devil card in tarot, the human beings, the guy and the girl, their chains and their restraints, they're not on them that tight. They're quite loose. They could take them off if they want to. It's just a matter of, do you want to or not? And I think as Mars is in Pisces sextiling Sun, Uranus, I think there's an opportunity to see that where you have chained yourself to things and that it's as easy as just slipping it off. And then I think also you might go, oh, wow, I didn't realize it was that easy to take off those restrictions. It may not be that obvious, but I think on May 4th, as the sun conjoins Uranus, do something radical, do something that's liberating. Get yourself out of, when we talk about Taurus, we're talking about being stuck in a rut. We're talking about I mean, the North Node is here. So that Taurus area of your chart, there's a lot of focus in that area. There's a lot of like drive in that area. But Uranus, I mean, Taurus wants stability and security, and Uranus just isn't bringing that. So it's one of those things of like, high risk, high reward type situation. With Taurus, if you're betting on things if you are betting on, for example, let's say you are betting on the world literally returning back to normal here in just another month or two, you're going to be very wrong. If you're betting on things getting crazier and wilder, you're going to have a great return on your investment. The sun conjoining Uranus is like, in order to create that stability, you have to find innovative ways to find that stability, right? Like, same thing with like markets right now. Like a lot of people are, countries are de-dollarizing and people are all over the place with inflation. At some point, you're probably going to see things like Bitcoin be more stable than like the dollar. And I mean, that's definitely not right now. But what I'm trying to say is that sun conjoins Uranus. Don't be afraid to do something innovative, to do something even risky, right? Mars and Pisces, it might just be the right place and the right time. But I also think it's just kind of like, find an innovative way to create stability, to create value, to experience value. And I think that sun conjoining Taurus, right? We're looking for stable energy in our sense of self. And as that conjoins Uranus, it's going to take a innovative or a risky or a, shocking action to do that. So then the moon enters Cancer later on May 4th. Jesus. So the moon will enter Cancer. And of course, that's when, we're going to get a little bit more sensitive. We're going to be more focused on nurturing, protecting, getting more connected with the internal parts of ourselves. But that's, so pretty much Wednesday, it's like you're going to take some crazy kind of action. It'll be a little bit random. And then the moon's going to go into Cancer where we're going to be like a little bit more hypersensitive. I kind of like this moon in Cancer transit. It's going to be doing a lot of trine stuff. So let's get into it. That brings us to Thursday. Moon's going to be trining Mars as Mercury sextiles Venus. That is a highlight, but not really. And I'll explain why. So we get to Thursday, and number one, Moon in Cancer trining Mars in Pisces. I love it. To be honest with you, I love it. Mars in Pisces is like, just take one step at a time. Same thing with fighting. Your foot position is extremely important when it comes to fighting. What foot are you leading forward with? What foot are you putting pressure on? Being light on your feet, all incredibly important when it comes to fighting things. Same thing too in war. If you guys don't know anything about Vietnam and the Vietnam War, but socks were one of the most valuable things in that war because, it's really easy in swamps and jungles for your feet to get too wet, and there can be like fungus that grows and other shit. And keeping your feet dry, keeping your feet clean was so critical in Vietnam. And same thing with all of the wars. I mean, going back to World War II, World War I, I think they called it trench foot back in World War I, and people were like losing their feet to all this shit. I'm bringing fun Mars and Pisces fun facts. But why I'm bringing this up is like Mars also causes issues, and it's in Pisces, ruling things like the feet, right? And so, I mean, like for one, Moon in Cancer, trining Mars in Pisces, this is great, like Epsom salt bath for your feet type day, or like mineral bath, like I've been getting into. So apparently, human beings have like very low levels of magnesium. And when I found this out, I was like, oh, I'll take magnesium, like a magnesium supplement, duh. But little did I know, the body does not absorb magnesium through the digestive tract. The best way your body absorbs magnesium is actually through your feet. So in order to get magnesium in your body, doing things like Epsom salt baths or like literally walking on like rocks in rivers and water and shit like that is how your body can absorb magnesium, which is just mind-boggling to me. But anyway, random Mars and Pisces stuff. I'm bringing this up because the moon's going to be in Cancer. We're going to be really connected to our guts. We're going to be very hypersensitive to how we feel. We're going to be really tuning into that. And as that trines Mars and Pisces, I think that's going to give like, well, the thing is like, the gut literally creates like most serotonin, in your body, and as well as is like responsible for like fucking everything pretty much. And your mind gut connection is really important, but it's one of those things of like, if you've got like a lot of anxiety, if you've got like a lot of questions, like being really connected to your body and your gut will be really important at this time. Cause I think as the moon's in Cancer trining Mars and Pisces, being a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? Like you'll be a little wishy-washy. And if you're not like in a state of like let's say if you're, how do I put this? Moon in Cancer trending Mars in Pisces is if you're all erratic and everything, you're going to probably make some crazy decisions here. But if you are getting connected with your spiritual self, which it takes, like alleviating distractions, which that even also takes like changing your brain chemistry, which also involves like, food and shit like that. And I'm bringing all this up to say the moon trending Mars in Pisces is going to be like kind of an emotionally turbulent day, depending on how your emotional state is. So I think if you're feeling really good, I think this will be a really big, like, the moon's in Cancer, trending Mars in Pisces. It's like, man, when everyone is safe, for example, they used to do this in Vietnam. They used to have like foot checks. Like pretty much you fucking stop for a second and you're in the middle of a war zone, but we're all gonna fucking stop and put on and change our fucking socks. That's kind of this moment. Change your socks around this time. Don't be afraid to take care of yourself. You have to, otherwise you're gonna lose your fucking feet. Mars and Pisces. So the other thing is Mercury's gonna be sextiling Venus here. I said this wasn't that big of a deal because Mercury's in shadow and Mercury and Venus will kind of go back and forth a few different times. But Mercury and Gemini sextiling Venus and Aries, it's very flirtatious. Flirtatious. I think it's being able to express and communicate what it is that you want, even though Venus and Aries is just going to be like, I'm taking this. It's not like, hey, I want this. It's like, I'm taking this, and you are going to know that. So I think as Mercury sextiles Venus, really good for flirting, communication, stimulation. Yeah, it's just kind of a little bit more of a bigger deal because Mercury's about to go retrograde, but we'll talk about that in a second. This fucking iPad literally keeps locking like right when I need to open it. Friday, moon's going to be in Cancer still, trining Neptune and Jupiter. And that's like it. There's not a lot going on for the rest of the week, to be honest with you guys. We're in the middle of eclipse season. Like, I think that's the most important thing to understand about this week is we're in eclipse season. Things are going to, even though there might not be a lot of crazy astrology transits, things change moment to fucking moment during eclipse season. So I guess I say all of this to say just like be open-minded with how this week goes, even though there's not a lot to like really talk about. But on Friday, the moon will be at the end degrees of Cancer, trending Neptune and Jupiter. Really not that big of a deal because like the moon will not ingress into Leo until Saturday. But as the moon's, and I mean, the moon also is not void. The moon's not void here. The moon's applying to Jupiter. So I think as the moon all day long, applying to Neptune, applying to Jupiter with the moon in Cancer. I talked about this last week. What is it that you want? In order to get what you want, you have to connect a feeling to it. And if you feel like shit, you're going to attract shit. But if you're feeling good, if you're feeling safe, if you're feeling nurtured, you're going to attract those things. And this moon in Cancer is like, really fucking tune in. How do you fucking feel? Like, as that's trending Jupiter and Pisces, it's going to be really easy to attract the frequency that you are on. Meaning, if you are on a frequency, which Wes Watson talks about this a lot, and I like to quote him, your frequency is what you frequently see. So if you're only seeing the negative, if you're only seeing how things can get worse, which I read the fucking comments, it is amazing how much you guys are like, oh my God, my life's falling apart. Stop that. Moon in Cancer, like, you need to fucking focus on what's important. But if you are feeling anxiousness, if you're feeling fear and dread, guess what? It's coming to you. And getting out of that is going to be difficult. I'm not saying it's like easy at all, but what I'm saying is if you're on Friday, if you're like feeling really weird and shitty, you're going to attract a lot of that to you. It's moon, like Jupiter and Pisces isn't biased. It doesn't matter what it is that you believe in. You're getting what you believe. And I think as this moon trines Neptune and Jupiter, I think it's going to be really easy to oversaturate our fears, get way too into feeling like insecure. But I feel like it's a really easy time though to like moon in Cancer, like take care of yourself with what you need and put yourself in a situation where you can raise your frequency, raise your vibration, think about what it is that you want. I mean, Jupiter's about to go into Aries. Like we're about to blast off into some fucking energy right now. Like it's been very docile and chill, and it's about to get really extreme really fast. And so this is one of those things of like, for example, if you're afraid of riding roller coasters, but you're in line for a roller coaster and you're next up, like you got to leave those feelings at the fucking door. And I think this moon in Cancer trining Jupiter and Pisces is like, if you're feeling all types of crazy, you're going to have to check those feelings out the door. You're going to just have to trust. You're just going to have to have faith and leave it behind. But I think it's going to be really easy to be like, oh my God. And like just super anxious about shit. Stop it. Get some help. That fucking Michael Jordan meme. I love that one. Anyway, As the moon's trining Jupiter and Neptune, I just think there's a possibility for, a lot of emotions to stir everywhere. Had to take a pause. I had to go turn on the fan. It is hot in here. Anyway, so let me actually do this too. That should be better. Anyway, we move on to Saturday. And the big thing on Saturday is the moon's going to ingress into Leo and it's going to sextile Mercury and trine Venus. Looking pretty great, to be honest with you guys. Saturday, moon in Leo, trining Venus in Aries. Go have some fun. Straight up. Like, if you all have been feeling like an insecure little bitch, like, go get a haircut, go spend some money on yourself, go open a door for for a cute lady, or if you're a girl, go like wink at a guy or something like that, or if you're like gay, fucking flirt with someone. I don't know, can't think of the right analogy for that. Anyway, have some fucking fun. Like, moon in Leo, put some fucking, like, where's your heart? Put your emotions where your heart is. Live authentically. And that moon in Leo trining Venus in Aries is like, what is it that you want? What is it that you're attract? Rather than waiting for it to come to you, go and fucking get it. Like, it's right fucking there. By the way, what I love about Venus in Aries is you don't have to ask for permission. Stop waiting for it. Just take it. It's yours. Like, you have to decide what's yours and what it is that you want. No one's going to make that up for you. When you decide it's yours and you take it, then all of a sudden that decision's made. The moon's going to also be sextiling Mercury. I mean, I think Mercury here is just making it easy for the transactions to happen. However, Mercury is in shadow. Mercury is pretty much motionless at this point. So there is a big, like, nothing, like Mercury, it's like, again, ideas, information, communication. It's like motionless in this, like, so all the information that's coming in is coming in very cleanly, but you're going to have to go back over it. So it's like, you might, for example, you might get a letter in the mail that you were expecting, but then that letter is not exactly what you were expecting. Like, you were expecting the specific envelope from the specific company or whatever, but then the contents of that wasn't what you were expecting, and it's a little bit more delayed than you thought. But that's fine. Mercury isn't retrograde yet, but as the moon's in Leo, trining Venus, sextiling Mercury, it's like, what's up? Like, it's very fun. It's opening up these doors for the Venus in Aries, Jupiter in Aries, Mars in Aries. And the thing is, the moon goes into Leo. I mean, we're also building, now this is the quarter moon in between eclipses. I think this is when we kind of get the balls and the courage to kind of do some shit. And I think it's the moon trining Venus. Like, this is literally connecting with what, like, we want, with what we want to indulge ourselves in. Go and fucking take it. Go and fucking do it. Don't be a little bitch this week. I'm going to be saying that a lot while everything's in Aries. And then as we get to Sunday, the moon's going to be squaring Uranus, and that's really about it. I'm also aware that this horoscope's only about 32 minutes so far. I plan on making these a little bit shorter to respect your guys' time. I can't do 45 minutes to an hour every single time. But as we get into Sunday, really the only thing is that moon squaring Uranus. I mean, like, that's really about it. I think as the moon's in Leo squaring Uranus, sometimes when you put your pride and your heart into stuff, people don't like that. It shakes shit up. That was really difficult to say. As the moon squaring Uranus, like, I mean, we're getting ready for the total lunar eclipse in Scorpio, so I don't know what to tell you. Like, moon in Leo is kind of like, you're going to be feeling like me with these sunglasses on, and you might do something, you might shake some shit up, and people are just going to have to fucking deal with it. And you're going to be like, what? What's up? That might even be like that might even be the universe to you. The universe might be like with me with these sunglasses on and fucking shake shit up for you and be like what's up? What are you going to do about it? And you might just have to fucking take it. But I think on Sundays that moon squares Uranus, our pride, sensitivity to our ego, is very unstable. And I think as like the sun is conjoining like the North Node, I think our egos are very sensitive right now. So I think it's going to be important to, like, check yourself, check your emotions at the door with these eclipses coming up. I don't think I think you should have pride. I think you should have passion. I think you should have heart. But I think if it's going to make you feel insecure, I think if it's going to make you feel weak, I think you need to check those things at the door and remember who you are. You're you. Anyway, I can go the fuck off about that type of shit all day long, but here's the reality. This week is a transitional week. As we get to next week, Mercury goes retrograde. Jupiter goes into Aries, total lunar eclipse in Scorpio. Way more of a bigger deal. So as far as final thoughts for this week, guys, like, look, you're watching this post eclipse. I don't have to tell you that shit is changing, that we're in the middle of shit. I think though with this week, like Moon in Gemini time is going to be getting all of the data. Moon in Cancer time is going to be like making sure that your emotions are checked in with your faith. And then that Moon in Leo time is like balls to the wall, fucking go for it, right? Go crazy, go stupid. Go goblin mode. That's the new one, goblin mode. You're going to have to go goblin mode. Anyway, that's what I got for you guys this week. Thank you guys so much for being here, liking, sharing. Please like this video. If you really liked it, if I've ever done anything for you, please give me a like on these videos. That is like the biggest difference with the YouTube algorithm is whether or not you like the video. So when you like the video, if you've watched my content for years and you've never given me like any money, I don't care about that. Just fucking like the video. It helps me out way more than you actually know. So give me a comment too. If you really want to support me, engage with this video. I'd really appreciate it. Anyway, I'll leave you guys with that. Thank you so much for being here, liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing. I'll see you next week.